So you have Elohim, the God, the creator of all, the creator of heaven, heaven and earth, heaven and earth, the principle of all that is beyond us and all that is below us, all that is inside of us on the planet. So you kind of have this concept of this, the plane. Elohim is all. So Elohim is the all-containing field around the universe. So you have the point. We could just imagine, just imagining a point, an infinite. Elohim is all expanding. So all outward expanding field of glory. So how would you get the creation of a universe would be coming out from within a type of point that would in theory be the concept of the Tao, um, and then that's expanding outward, to create the inside of Elohim. Again, this is happening inside of Elohim. People might picture the universe as expanding into empty space, but that's not. That's so I'm flipping it. I'm switching the principle, saying that this is all happening within a construct that's already there, within an eternal construct, an eternal, field of glory. So glory is just essentially, infinite potential, infinite life, infinite expansion, infinite potential. Tao would be the internal principle of depth. Since the glory is expansion, glory is ever stretching outward. Then you have to have a principle of something inside, something going inward to small and large to have any kind of contrast or comparison. So that would be the field that goes inward, which then in a kind of in a concept of how Adam punctured his side to get Eve. Adam had to puncture his side. So you have almost the concept of the slit, the plus and the dash. The positive and negative, in and out. Does seem to play out in the concept in the whole universe. We see this principle at play, male and female, night and day, contrast and comparison. So Elohim is the all in all. Elohim is just all. There's nothing, there's no direction Elohim could go in if he's all. There's no time, there's no space, there's nothing in Elohim. It's just eternal resting presence of life. Where else would there what else would there be? Elohim doesn't need to go anywhere to get something. Elohim doesn't need to go high or low or left or right or to up a mountain or below or in or out. It's just all in all. What else? There's nothing else. It's just complete rest, a complete state of absolute oneness, absolute fullness, completion. So, but Elohim creates, as we know, the heavens and the earth, the stuff. Elohim is creating the physical place, the place of space and time. So we have the universe, being formed out of that background. At the Big Bang. So the Big Bang is expanding out from a infinite source that is not fully understood yet, to create the universe coming from a tiny point. That's what I'm describing here as the Tao, the filament, the connection point, the center of all things. Then there's the center of the universe, and then it's expanding out in all directions. So it's expanding out like a river, like a sea. This would be also the wellspring of life, the wellspring, um, the well of the potential, and then the spring of of creation. So you create a well, and then you have a spring. You have to have both to counterbalance each other. There's a contrast. There's that there. Um, so you have the creation of then the universe, the stars and planets. Um, galaxies, in the galaxy, each galaxy has a center. Similarly, has a center. So you can draw a center to the galaxy or the galactic cluster. Everything has a center, like the spreading of roots or vines or something of that like that nature. That's it, and you find that's in everything. That just keeps going on and on and on. So you could draw a center toward everything, and then you have the center of a solar system, which is in the center of the the surrounding planets. Going around the star, you have a center. So you could cluster that off, and then you have a concept of the planet having its core, its center as well. And then we have of course the moon going around it, the planet Earth, and then Elohim. This is just on the beginning of day one. So at this time, everything is in Elohim, right? There's no separation. Nothing, no consciousness has existed yet that can compare or contrast. There's no distinction. These moving things are more happening inside of Elohim. Beings don't exist yet on the planet, so there's nothing there to look at something and compare. There's nothing there to experience space and time. These are all moving. This is all within Elohim. It's all still one. The fragmentation can only occur in a conscious, within a consciousness, within a being on the. This is just an empty planet at this point. This is the beginning of day one right here, where day one begins. He creates. He sees the empty planet, and this is where the spirit of Elohim comes in. So you have the spirit. The life force, the spirit of life, or the spirit of chi, the animating life force that flows throughout the whole creation, coming into the planet. It says it's actually hovering through the waters. So the planet is covered with water and ice at this point, connected to its sun. So the sun is expanding out to shine, but nothing has seen light yet. Nothing. Remember, it's all Elohim. So what would Elohim see? What would Elohim be able to see if Elohim is everything in the phenomenon? Elohim is through everything. He's in all things and through all things. In him do we live, move, and have our being, inside of Elohim. So Elohim wants to see light. So what happens on the planet Earth is the first microbial life forms start to expand out in the waters through the spirit hovering to create these little cellular life forms in the water that are relying on the sunlight. They actually need the sunlight to exist. They have to have the sunlight. They have to constantly experience the light to keep on existing. And I believe that's what begins the process of the evolution of life. So this is the process of a phenomenon of life inside of Elohim, for something to experience or be distinct from Elohim, yet also ultimately find oneness with Elohim. So that would be the process of the 7 days of creation. So he then starts to create plant life, animal life, flying creatures, mammals, reptiles, mammals, and humans. The conscious beings are then going to come out from that mud, where the waters are mixing with, and the spirit of God is flowing through the cellular life. They're gonna come out as humans. And God places them into Eden, where you have another center. So again, Eden is the center in the midst of the consciousness on earth that's united with the consciousness of God. So Eden, to have the consciousness of the mind of God, would be to be in Eden. to be, so our mind, our brain is one with the whole creation, the whole thing. So in Eden you have now Elohim is part of man. Elohim is one with man here, right? There's nothing separate. He says all things were good. All things were tov. Everything was tov at this point on day 7. On the 7th day when he entered into his Sabbath, his rest. This is when everything was complete and perfect, and perfectly ordered. So you have the creation of everything from the universe down to the conscious being of man, living in perfect harmony, perfect flow, all together as one. And then you have the principle of, the male and the male and the female, the man and woman, coming together as one in Eden. And God says that it was good. It was all exceedingly tov or tau. So everything at every single point was one. If we could imagine now, the man and the male and female are connected through their center, through their core, in Eden, which is the core of the earth, and the core of our being, flowing with all the same oneness with Elohim. So Elohim is at this point all in all one, all one whole, one single whole, where everything is equally distributed and flowing perfectly with Tov, for all beings in this perfect harmony, where they're all living inside of the will of God, of the all in all, of Elohim, who is all, outside and now inside. So inside of the conscious beings is the same oneness that you would find externally inside of the initial source, where, as I said, where the universe is beginning at, to the point where the universe is actually beginning, where that thought, the mind of God is expanding the logos. This would of course be likened to the logos as well, and the logos flows through everything. So you have the spirit flowing through everything, through the beings and their consciousness, and then you have the logos, the word, where God speaks, into the beings, into the whole creation. The logos is speaking. So here you have, Father, Spirit, and Word. We have the Trinity principle at play. I believe in the very beginning, the concept of Tov, being the internal principle of depth, of the infinite depth and the infinite expansion. So that allows something to move and contrast and compare, and this would be the perfect, the perfect ultimate harmony would be Eden, and in the midst of that, the tree of life. So we have the tree and its fruit, the good fruit of the tree of life, which is the source of consciousness inside of us, growing out inside of us when we're rooted and connected to God, Elohim. We're full of, it says, the fruits of the tree of life are what produces from it by being connected to the river of life, which flows through the midst of the river, the midst of the garden. So again, you have another midst. So we have a principle, a universal principle now becomes an earthly principle in the concept of water, or our source. We're attached to our source, which is the living waters, the waters flowing with the Spirit. That becomes our source that we need, just as the universe is reliant on its source, in the Creator Elohim. So everything is pouring out, trickling all as one, into a concept that we have, which is a tree. Like a tree is something that we nourish ourselves from, which grows out from the ground, from the water. So it's all coming together as one right here in this principle. So you have the river and the 4 rivers flowing out, and everything is perfectly one at this point. And that would be the complete picture of all